Hey, speed freaks, and welcome to the American Downhillers podcast presented by skiracing.com, where we share our insights and stories on downhill and the legendary courses that will be run this winter. Today's show is all about Val Gardena, the Ciaslat, the downhill with the most terrain on the circuit, and to me, the most fun downhill to run the whole year. Hi, everyone. I'm Doug Lewis, two-time Olympic downhiller and the first ever American to jump the camels in Val Gardena back in 1984. Joining me are three of the most celebrated downhillers in our history. Four-time Olympian, a downhiller who had a podium finish in Val Gardena in 1992, AJ Kitt. Next up, Darren Rolfs, winner of 12 World Cups and a high finish of only fourth in Val Gardena. We have to talk about that. Lastly, the founder of the American Downhillers, Marco Sullivan, a four-time Olympian who also had a fourth at Val Gardena in a race which an American won back in 2006. And today we have that American on as a special guest, our very own Stephen Nyman, three-time winner of Val Gardena course, 2006, 2012, crazy race, 2014, and he's joining us from Val Gardena. So Stephen, welcome to American Downhillers podcast. And how are things going over there? What'd you do today, the day before training starts?
I'm fired up to see you boys. It's great to be here. Great to be with you. Actually, earlier today, I was going through just a bunch of old results here, and just traditionally, the Americans have done really well here. And Marco, man, you're always at the top, always close to the podium. And that year, you were like 100th, I think, right? 1 or 200ths. I was like, oh, dude.
Fritz Strobel.
Fritz Strobel. But yeah, it's always wonderful to be back in this valley and just experience the tradition and the excitement that it brings. And Barbara, come here. We have a special guest as well. The one and only, the lovely Babs. You can take it off. This is our mama here in Val Gardena. And,
hi. I can see Ciaslat there on the video.
Lots of snow in Tahoe.
Yeah.
We have Darren Rolfs, Marco, AJ Kitt, and Doug Lewis.
Darren Rolfs.
There he is.
Yeah.
Hey, Darren, speak. Show us your shirt.
Sorry?
He has a Ciaslat shirt on right there. Yes.
Look support. At this.
We got to get you one.
Hi, Babs.
So Babs here is our mom here at the Alpenplan, the hotel that we have stayed at forever. And it's just family when we come here, and we love being here.
Yes.
She's the best.
For us, it's the same. For our family, the team is the family.
So what is the best meal that you love, Stephen, to get you fueled up that Babs provides?
It's always the pasta. It's just tons of pasta for lunch and dinner. Usually ancora, another round. I get 2 rounds of pasta. Got to get that downhill weight for the flats going. And it's always a surprise every day. Do you have a specific rotation, or you just like
yesterday carbonara. Yesterday
carbonara, yeah.
Not a program, but every day something else. Yes.
How about the desserts?
Oh,
tiramisu.
Tiramisu. It's always on Friday night for the race the day after. Yes. Bye to everybody in America. Bye.
Bye, Babs.
So, Stephen, give us an update, what you've heard about the course, what you've heard about the snow this year.
So they started the course last year a little higher. It's a few seconds longer. Usually we start out of a side hill, and I have a skate rhythm that gives me an advantage, and I got to kind of figure out this one. But now we go down straight and then turn across the side hill, then turn and go off the first jumps. The terrain looks sharp on the flats, so you got to be active there. Across the flats, I always like working every little piece of terrain I can just to eke out every bit of speed I can. Approaching the Mauer jumps, which are kind of the middle jumps, there used to be a jump heading into that by the house, but now we go up and above the house because they wanted a different approach for the Super G hill. So it's a little longer flat, which can be beneficial to me. And then it makes the approach to the Mowers tame. But once you hit the Mowers, it's on. You have a good flight off the first, and they said the second Mower looks pretty sharp and big this year. The camels look good. It doesn't look too sharp on camel 1, but the big camel looks legit. The gates look a little straighter coming into the Ciaslat, well, approaching entrance Ciaslat, and then it starts swinging up, and Ciaslat looks similar. Exit Ciaslat looks like it can be a little tricky. I have a little special squeaky line I like doing there on some years, and it looked like I might be able to do it this year. If so, I might save it for race day. I pulled it in 2014, and it was really good. So hopefully I can pull that off. And the finish jump actually looks pretty big, but I've only seen this on video, and I'll send that to you you could show to the audience if they want to take a trip down the Ciaslat. But yeah, it's a wonderful hill. I love Gardena because it's high and dry, a lot of snowmaking. They get a lot of trails done early here to where we get a free ski a lot, and we get to feel that timing and tempo of the skis. We get to just get comfortable in that rhythm and feel our bodies again. Sometimes Lake Louise, Beaver Creek doesn't provide the snow to really feel the skiing. It's so early in the season. Sometimes this year was really hard. If you wanted to figure things out, which I was struggling with, you just couldn't do it. And so I'm happy to be here. And we've had a couple days of training before these races to where I can feel some things out and get comfortable. So I'm fired up.
Hey, Stephen, I want to hear a little bit about two things, both mental. One, what's your mental approach right as you're getting ready to go out of the start? Like, do you have a key word or just something specific that you're thinking about to get yourself mentally in the groove for this run, which has so much terrain? And then inside of that, I want to know a little bit about what you see as you approach the camel. So after you land off the Mower, you've got a little bit of a flat. And I want to know a little bit about what you see and what your mental sort of preparation or cadence is for pressing camel 1 and popping camel 2 over 3.
To answer your first question, it's active and drive. Those are my 2 words. I got to be active. I got to be ready for the terrain, and I just have to drive. If I'm breaking out, I want my hands forward. I want to break the wind. I don't want to open up this way. So those 2 things I think are just going to pull me down the hill. But when you're approaching the camels, it's just this big long flat, and all you're seeing is just this freeway in front of you, and you're in a tight bullet. And depending on the shape of camel 1, you either get out and kind of press, or you're going to tuck over that and stay tight. But then camel 2 drops down, and then it just launches you off. And it's all about just having a good solid press, getting in a good position in the air, and trying to get back to the ground as soon as possible. I think it was 2007 or 8, we flew, I think Valkoffer flew 88 meters off of it, which was massive. There's another hyperlink I'll send you, Louis, that you could show people how far we actually go off the camel buccal. It's just so fun, and it's just nerve-wracking every time you approach it. Usually the first training run, I take it safe. I get up, I get high, I make sure I press that first one nicely to just see, let the young boys really push themselves and tuck hard into it. I usually ski really safe, try and ski the terrain well, get the timing and rhythm of all that, and then I start pushing in training run 2 in the race. So I've done really well here, but I've also crashed a lot here, just pushing too hard through the terrain. And yeah, you have to respect the terrain here.
Hey, Nyman, great having you on board with us here at American Downhill Podcast. But your success over the years, I mean, I'd say your longer legs have helped with suspension. It's like, for me, I felt like a little buggy going through the whoops, and you're like a trophy truck, man, with the suspension just mowing through stuff. But Alias Lewis, a teammate of mine, one year we counted how many times we were actually off the ground. It was 26 times there in Val Gardena. I think it's one of the hands like down the most fun track to ski because there's so much terrain. But like, how's that play into your advantage? You feel like your legs are always dropping, or the snow, the train's dropping away from you. I was always trying to really kind of work the flats as much as I could, and I mean, it's like a constant like battle trying to like make speed up there. It seemed like.
I think where my long legs really pay off it are the little pieces of terrain on the flat where I can absorb the front side and push down the back side. If you're shorter, you got to expose yourself more. And I don't know if you can actually get back down and generate that speed off the back sides of those little pieces of terrain. That focus of just every little piece of terrain and gaining speed on everything you can is my focus. So that's an advantage, and that's something I don't see many people doing. The few guys I see do it on a lot of courses would be Bryce, long legs, Dom Paris, he's pretty long. I see in Kitzbühel, actually, he pushes on areas that I push, and I don't see anybody else do it. And I've talked to him about it. I'm like, I see you on the Alta Schneise, and it's steep and it's straight down, and people just want to relax and tuck and think that's it. But there's 3 rolls down that thing, and if you work the backside of those, you gain a lot of speed there. And it's noticing those little fine pieces of those downhill courses where you can gain speed where other people aren't necessarily looking. I think that's something that I'm really good at.
I think that's a separator for sure. And going back to that secret line you're talking about, like, so everybody knows, like, all your competition, you go really straight in there, right? You get way back on the tails and try and like just last second, like make that gate, right? In the Ciaslat, is that the key? That's what everybody should try, right? All your competition.
Pull that out on race day.
Yeah. No, I think that is one of the craziest sections going in that Ciaslat, like that timing and that line, like in just taking that speed momentum into there. And there's a lot of different combinations that guys try and soak stuff up or double going in the Ciaslat. And I think you got that whole section wired. So
yeah, let's explain the Ciaslat. So you have the camels, 3 huge jumps. The first one, as Steven says, you ride. The second 2, you camel, you jump over the 2, which is maybe a little easier now, but still frightening and very dangerous.
Which, by the way, congrats on being the first one to do that. I didn't know you were the first one to do that.
Yeah.
84?
84 was, it was the Austrians would do it. Uli Spiess, the Austrian, the famous Austrian, he would take a shot of schnapps in the starting gate. I would see him do it. And then he would jump the camels. Then the Canadians followed. Then there was a whole bunch of injuries and everybody freaked out. But in 84, unfortunately, I think Darren said this last week, but I just thought about, I'm jumping the camels in the starting gate. I'm jumping the camels in the looping. I'm jumping the camels in the Mauer. Unfortunately, I was not in the right frame of mind, but it was a training run and I jumped as hard as I could. Let's put this in perspective. You guys almost suck up the camels now. I jumped as high and as hard as I could to get them, and I cleared them. So thank goodness. I was doing it, and when I landed, I sunk in about 3 inches. But
I was in leather boots, right, Louis, in 84?
Hey. Anyway, the camels, huge. But let's move on. Right after the camels comes the Ciaslat, which you guys have talked about. This is a 5-turn, 25-20 second section that is best described as running an ice mogul field at 60 miles an hour while turning and trying not to hit anything. Knees, backs, heads. In the case of American downhill or Sam Duprat last year, tibias and fibulas are at risk of being injured. When it's done right, like Steven Nyman has done it last year, RCS made it look so simple. It's amazing. But when it's done wrong, you find yourself on the second page of the results or in the hospital. It's like a puzzle, isn't it, Steven? Describe the Ciaslat and trying to figure out how to run it as a racer.
You're going to set yourself apart if you have conviction every time you're going over these pieces of terrain. Everything's blind. Not everything, but you approach basically after the camels, it's another flat. Now they've put a little wiggle in there, and there's a couple drop away pieces of terrain, and you got to time those right, which sets you up for a big sweeping kind of Daytona turn. And then you're entering Ciaslat 1. And it's a little camel. Sometimes no, every time I've done it, you always camel it, and then you got to press the second one or the third one. And guys will hesitate. 90% of the field is going to hesitate because they can't see where they're going. And the camels, it's straight and it's fine, and you're not going to hit anything. The Ciaslat, you're going to hit the backside of rolls, and you got to get to the right side of the trail. So you have to know, all right, and be convinced that I'm going to land and I'm going to commit to this turn, and I'm going to slingshot myself to the right and get ahead of this terrain coming up for the fall away right footer. And if you can do that and go over that terrain with conviction, throwing yourself forward, you've already gained several tenths on people. So really knowing where you're going to put your skis, how you're going to throw yourself over, and having the long legs to connect to the backside of that terrain is key. And also how hard you're going to press off the thing. Sometimes you need to kind of pop it to get to the backside of that second one. Sometimes it's you got to press as hard as you can to get the backside of that second one.
Hey, one quick thing too. Race day. I would say probably half my races, it was a game time decision. Basically how well you stick that entry double in Ciaslat. Like you said, if you just knuckle a little bit, you lose a little speed. If you get it just right, you make up speed to go in that right footer. Then the next left footer, I guess, is that Ciaslat 3 you're talking about. But that to me was like game time decision. Like, now this is how much speed I have. I got to either like suck stuff up, or I got to like stiff leg, or even like jump a little more. And I think that's like one of the coolest sections of any downhill, because I mean, you can't really stick with a plan A. You have to have like a B and a C there.
No, I always have. You're always constantly analyzing as you're going down. It's like, okay, did I do that well? Am I slow? Am I fast? Like after Ciaslat 1, like you said, if you nail Ciaslat 1 and you're ahead of it, you can get underneath that second right footer on that fall away turn, and you're going to carry some serious heat into Ciaslat 3 and or 2, I guess you'd call it. I keep saying 3, but you're not really cameling 2. And you can carry some serious heat in there. Some years I've doubled that thing, and then you're a little on your heels, and you just gotta kind of like wiggle and check a little speed and get over it. And sometimes if you're a little slow, you just gotta carve and press and try and regain the speed that you can. The guy who's the wizard at it is Bryce. That guy, just his super long legs, I think his BMX background, he just knows how to work that terrain and stay connected. It's incredibly impressive.
When things go wrong, which it often does there, I've unfortunately had to visit a couple of teammates in the hospital. I'm going to throw this to you, Marco. You're in the starting gate. You hear of a course hold because someone is being helicoptered out of the camels, or someone's being helicoptered out of the Ciaslat. What goes through your mind as a racer at the start? How do you handle it? How do you turn it into something positive, potentially, to make sure you can run your run on a race that's really dangerous?
I think for me, I mean, it's not specific to Val Gardena, just any race. When you get iced to the start like that, and you know what's going on, but all the coaches are trying to tell you, oh, there's just a gate out down there or whatever. But you know, someone wrecked, but that's just part of ski racing. You gotta just we all know why we're there, and you're there to be the fastest guy down the mountain, and you've trained for it. You got to trust that you are trained and ready to make it, and block out that distraction, because you didn't have any part in creating that. One of your competitors made a mistake, and you just got to trust that you're not going to make that mistake. And kind of goes back to what we talked about on the podcast last week with the inspection and the mental fortitude of just standing in that start gate and trying to be the fastest guy down. And at Val Gardena, that's why it's so fun to be an American there, because our whole team has that stoke and the fire to have so much confidence there. And it's going off the topic a little bit, but just, I don't know, I love hearing Steven talk about Val Gardena, because it's like he does so well there. The rest of the guys have another just another little bit of spark. I feel like we roll into that valley. So really looking forward to this week and watching you, Steven.
Thank you. What's been super fun is we have a new coach this year, Kanan Pollock, and he's never skied down the hill. And he got back from the course today and he was just like, that is the coolest thing I have ever seen. You know, I'm like, dude, wait till you get on the rest of these tracks, man. Like it's just every weekend, just slipping down the tracks. You're just like, wow, I'm so lucky. And that's why I keep doing it. I love it. I feel capable. And Louis, talking about what you were, or to answer what you were talking about, the best way you can prepare for those situations is preparing, like being as strong as possible, being ready, having the miles, honing in your equipment, knowing that everything is right, because when things aren't right and you're getting into those situations, that's when things go wrong. So just knowing that you've done everything you can, that's going to limit those sort of situations more than anything.
Yeah, that prep work that gives you confidence. Like you said before, we talked about in Beaver Creek, about skiing with conviction. I think that's like, I mean, where your head is, it makes such a big difference. AJ, what do you think about how tight the times are in Val Gardena? I mean, I think I was like low teens one year, like 14th. I remember the top 30 was 1.28. There's a separation of 1.28 seconds to the top 30. And you see a lot of ties there for how much terrain and how long it is. Like, I mean, I'll throw this at AJ, but you too, Nyman, like, what do you guys think? Like, I mean, why is it so tight always?
Yeah, it's definitely a place we see more ties than anywhere else. I just think the terrain and the uniqueness of that track is kind of the great equalizer, right? It's really difficult to train for that in the off season or just away from the World Cup. And I just think it's an equalizer. I mean, it really, certainly, skis are really important on the top flat, but whatever you gain up there, you can easily lose by, not flying the camels right, or one mistake in the Ciaslat, or, there's all kinds of ways for things to get equalized out. And really, it's not a very steep run. So once you do make a mistake, getting back up to speed takes so long. And yeah, I think it's the equalizer of the uniqueness of that place.
You had fast skis in top of Beaver Creek, Steven. You were rocking and rolling your Fishers, and you've always had incredible skis at Val Gardena. Can you just put us into your brain across? You've done the looping, which is the big jump about 10 seconds into the start, and then there's 15 seconds of flats. What are you thinking about? Anything? Are you thinking about aerodynamics? Are you thinking about keeping your skis flat? What goes through your mind? Because you are always so fast up there. Just, talk to a U14. What are you thinking about to ride the flats so fast?
Biggest thing for me is elbows in. If I keep my elbows in on my chest, that blocks the wind. And that's something you taught me, Darren, actually, is when the elbows are together, that's blocking the wind from hitting your chest. And there's a few places on the World Cup track to where you can actually do that. Usually you're so active that your arms are open and your knees need room to move. But when you can get in that position, it's so much faster.
I'd say it's a huge key for guys like you and Bryce too. Like, these are such big dudes and have a huge chest exposed, if that's like the windbreak right there. So keep them pinned, buddy. You know how to do that.
That's my focus here, because
keep the chest down.
Creek was really good. Chest down. My focus here is to, if anytime I'm getting out, my arms are going forward. Beaver Creek, I'm opening up. I wasn't super balanced. I wasn't super confident. And after Pump House, I opened up and I skied it really well, but I just was open. And Dom Paris put 6 ski lengths on me from when I disappeared in the trees to when I reappeared. And it's just because I think I was open. So I think that's just super key, especially in higher speed areas.
Yeah, I was always thinking about trying to like connect my hands, like touch the thumbs together. If I had to come out of a tuck, I was looking for everything. I had to, try and keep up with you big guys, but I was always thinking about coming out and hands together, like feel those hands hit. And if they hit a couple times, even in one turn, that's better than not, being together at all.
I agree. I think in vision, I say if my hands aren't seen in my goggles, they're wider than this. So got to see them in my goggles. That's going to keep them in front of me.
All right, let's move on to the Americans and how well you've done here. Nyman, all three of your wins were here. Bryce has been twice fourth, a sixth and an eighth. RACS second last year. Goldberg sixth last year, won a training run. Ganong sixth and seventh. This seems like the place that we can own, the American Downhiller can own. Talk about that positivity as a team, and is it different team meetings when you're there? What is it about that place that you can build off of as the Americans?
I think we love it. I think we grew up in the train park era, and we became comfortable in the jumps and with the jumps to where it's maybe easier than the Europeans. Now maybe a lot of those guys have grown up with that and they're getting closer. I have no clue, but I've always thought that was an advantage, and that's something I dabbed in as a kid as well. So having the train is an advantage in that sense, but it's the love of the course. It's the feeling on the snow. I think it's aggressive. It's good snow. I think to me, what fired me up, honestly, was being there with Darren and Bodie and you guys just like sharing that information. I just ate it up the first year. And I was just like, really? Yeah. I'm on it. And I beat it in. But I won my second year. And it's just like I've never been to a place that looks like this. It's these rolling hills and cow pastures with these massive spiry mountains around you, and it's just incredibly beautiful. And every time you're standing up top, you're just like, wow, I'm so lucky to experience this, and it's just incredible. Like, take advantage of it. And honestly, the mountains just motivate me. Sounds corny, but it does.
I think you have to be a skier that just understands how to love being on your skis and love just skiing and free skiing to be able to do well there. I mean, because it's so much about flow and the terrain and being creative with the lines you choose.
I agree with that. I didn't have coaches that showed up as kids, and I just go ski and I just go challenge myself in so many varying different pieces of terrain. Why I've also found I'm one of the best gliders in the world, or I think I'm one of the best gliders in the world, is Sundance, where I grew up, has a front mountain and a back mountain, and to get from the back to the front, you ski this run called Toilet Bowl, and it kind of twirls down, and then it's this long flat that traverses around the mountain. And I'd always chase the guys from the BYU ski team who are like in their 20s. I'm this little 12-year-old kid. I'm trying to keep up with them. I don't understand physics or anything like that. Like, I just was like, got to keep up. And I think I honed that touch by just trying to keep up with the big boys back in the day. And I still have that touch now. So
last week we talked about course reports. Are the course reports different at Val Gardena for this team that loves this course so much? Talk about what you want in a course report from a coach and from an athlete, and which athletes give you the best ones.
To me, course reports, it comes down to when you're inspecting. You got to talk to the coach, what your plan is, what you feel. You can listen to them and you can trust yourself. I believe in yourself more than what the coaches say. You want to ski the line that you are convinced in. If you're skiing that with conviction, you're going to be faster than skiing something that you're trying with a little hesitation that maybe somebody did and was faster. But if you're not convinced in it, then I would go with what you're convinced with. And communicating that to the coaches, so when they hear your name, you're up, you want to hear what you got to hear, they know what to tell you. They're like, okay, you're on point, you're off point. But for me, mainly it's just snow conditions and flight lengths, and yeah, if anything drastic change. But for the most part, you have to convince and trust yourself.
Steven, I had one specific thing I wanted to ask you. The guy who's actually won the most on this course is the Godfather, Leo Musi, your serviceman. Give a shout out to him. He tuned for Christian Gardena, and now he's with you and Bryce. And I think I don't know how many wins he has on that track, but has he ever given you, what's his key to the Ciaslat? Is there anything that he says?
Leo's won 7 times, 3 with me, 4 with Gardena. He'll be a tough one to catch. But today he said he's going to tell me what he thought after my first win, and he's going to wait till I retire. So can't wait to hear whatever he has to say. And the only other person who knows what he said is Mick Branch. So I'm itching to hear whatever he has to say. And then secondly, the way he talks is it's about rolling from section to section, carrying the most speed. It's all one continuous movement from top to bottom. And learning how to link those together and continue building speed wherever you can is kind of his wisest words. It's a flatter course, so when you lose that speed, it's hard to regain it. And if you can continually limit the mistakes and build speed, I think you're destined for a good run.
Hey guys, why do I have my helmet on like this?
Gardena, baby.
This is Christian Gardena's style. In the start gate for inspection, he'd roll his helmet on backwards. He'd talking like he was a different guy there in Val Gardena. It was crazy. He's just like having so much fun, just chatting it up, but helmet on backwards. He thought he was the coolest dude there. And, he showed us what it was all about. But like Gardena, man, that was the next level there for him. So what's your deal? You put your helmet on backwards too, Nyman, or what do you do?
I love watching him. I've watched him for 1 year. And then when he retired here, his retirement run was great. But he almost wouldn't even inspect. He knew the course. He knew what was going on. It was more like, hey, Joe, what's up? It was crazy. And when he did his retirement run, he ran on skis from his first year on the World Cup. It was old. And I was like, dude, you're not going to make the camels. And he totally did. It was pretty wild. Old boots, old skis, old bindings, everything. It was impressive.
All right. So I want to see a picture of you in the start gate tomorrow for training with your helmet on backwards. A little tribute to Gardena. Harness that energy, like you said, you harness that energy with the mountains, the Ciaslat, and that goes a long ways. But like, I always felt it's cool that you pay tribute to those badasses, before you, and just like you sucking up that energy and just, then do it your way. Then do it your way.
I'll do it. Here's some stuff. We got some photos. Here we are.
Little tour of
Who's that guy?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Darren. Good Bode. We got Finley Mickle, Darren, me.
Marco below. Sickest shot ever.
Nasty shot. Jared.
Full scrub.
I love the walls here. It's just full of all kinds of history. And here's Coach Scotty Venus.
Oh, he's back. Scotty.
There's Canada. I just love it. There's so much tradition in history. So cool. Fires me up.
Nice. Well, Steven, I know you got to get to dinner. It is the night before the first training run. My last question, just to warn AJ, Marco, and Darren, we're not going to do predictions. We're going to have all 3 Americans on the podium. That's our prediction. It can be any combination of you guys who you want. But I'm interested in, well, Super G came in late in my career, but you're going to have training run, Super G downhill. What is it like to switch focus from a downhill training run to racing a Super G and then to get back into a downhill? I never had to experience that. How do you handle that mentally?
We do that in Kitzbühel as well. And we're kind of used to it, but the funny thing is when I do well in the Super G here, I tend to do well in the downhill, and Leo always says it. So this downhill though is more of a downhillish downhill, unlike Beaver Creek, which is more of a technical skier's downhill. This one favors the guys who want to go straight, and it's a little different the way it goes over the terrain. There's a lot of little timing pieces on the trail, but it's a gun and go, and you got to just hammer down the thing, and it gets you in that mode for the downhill as well. So I don't think it really takes you out of the game. It keeps you in the game, and you have to have that same mentality.
Any further questions? AJ, Marco, Darren?
I'm just wishing you best of luck, Stephen. One more victory here, and you tie Gardena for most ever, and I think that's what I want to see, man. Add to the legacy.
Good luck, Stephen. Have fun.
Thank you, boys.
Same as AJ said. Let's do it. Let's do it now, and then rally the rest of the team. Stack the boys in there.
All righty.
This is I can feel it. This is going to be an historic weekend for the American Downhillers. Hey, thanks everybody for watching and listening to our American Downhiller podcast. If you liked it, please spread the word. Share it with your friends, coaches, teammates, and your club. You can find us on skiracing.com with the video, and now in audio form, either on Spotify or coming up soon with Apple Podcasts. Just search American Downhiller Podcast. Darren's got his helmet on backwards. The next downhill on the circuit for the men will be Bormio, a race that defined my career and also where Darren won some precious metal as well. Described as one of the most challenging on the circuit, it comes right after the holiday break. It is dark, it is bumpy, it is icy, and a leg and mind burner that tests every racer. So stay tuned for that. Good luck, Stephen. Thanks, and always remember, ski fast, ski safe.